question throughout this post-conviction hearing has been, will Adnan Syed get a new trial on charges that he murdered his ex-girlfriend 17 years ago?
Syed's attorney argued that his lawyer at the time of the conviction made so many mistakes that his conviction should be overturned. One of those alleged mistakes was failing to contact a potentially key alibi witness, Asia McClain.
The defense team has to show that that witness might have made a difference in Adnan Syed's defense back in 2000.
My presence there is not going to make an impact on what's actually happening in front of the judge, and that's what's more important. So, my support is from out here. It's fine. At least I can sit out here and tweet. So I'm still on the case in my own way. Asia, from everything I've heard, has made an amazing witness, and I was like, man, I missed it because I really wanted to see her testify, but it's okay. First time I ever heard Asia's name was when Adnan was convicted, and I said to him, I said, you know, in closing arguments, the prosecutor said that, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Hae Min Lee left school and within 20 minutes was dead, or something like that.
The state's theory here is that Hae Min Lee left the school with Adnan at 2:15 p.m., and for some reason they went to Best Buy. He strangled her in the parking lot, and then he called Jay to come pick him up at exactly 2:36 p.m.
If you could account for your time in that half an hour, that was it. And he's like, you know, there was this girl who wrote me these letters over a year ago. And he said, I gave the letters to Christina Gutierrez, and she told me that I checked with her and her dates were wrong. He's like, so I never really kind of brought it up again. That was the end of that. She was later disbarred, and it all went public, like a couple years later, that, you know, she had messed up all these clients, and, you know, we were just horrified. It explained a lot. I think on one letter, Asia had written the number, a landline, so I called.
It's kind of weird, the things that I remember and the things that I don't. I don't remember her calling me to set up the meeting.
She's like, I wrote the letters, Adnan didn't write back, his lawyer didn't contact me. That's the first time I realized that, like, Gutierrez actually lied to Adnan and said that she had. And I was like, would you put this in an affidavit?
I remember writing that on my front porch, and then we went to have it notarized. I can't fathom why it still didn't dawn on me that Rabia wanted me to sign this, because it was important.
What we were facing at that point was direct appeals, which is all about the technical issues. You cannot raise anything that's considered new evidence. We had to wait until we could file something called a post-conviction relief petition. And so by the time we did that, it was like 2010, and Adnan's lawyer, Justin Brown, he hired a private investigator to reach out to Asia to see if she'd be willing to come testify.
In my mind, the only thing that I could think of was that someone associated with a convicted murderer had tracked me down. And I just wasn't comfortable without knowing the scope of why. I did find a Baltimore Sun article that referenced Kevin Urich.
Calling at this time the hearing set in on State versus Adnan Syed. It's Kevin Urich for the state. Mr. Urich.
I figured with him being a prosecutor that he would be a reliable source for information. And I gave him a call, and I actually took notes on the conversation. I told him that I saw Syed in the library in 1999. He told me that they had cell phone records and they had a witness that confessed to helping him bury Hae. And then I wrote down something Urich said to me directly. If I had any doubt that Adnan didn't kill Hae, it would be my moral obligation to see that he didn't serve any time. Based on what he told me, I felt that the conviction was, you know, airtight. And so I didn't see the need for me to get involved 10 years later.
learned that the defendant had filed this petition?
A young lady named Asia called me.
And what did she say?
She was concerned because she was being asked questions about an affidavit she'd written back at the time of the trial. She told me that she'd only written it because she was getting pressure from the family, and she basically wrote it to please them and get them off her back.
I remember sitting there listening to Yurik testify, and it was like being just punched in the gut. Because it made us all look horrible, and it was a total lie. Did Asia really say this to Yurik?
I never told Yurik that I recanted my story. And there were some things that he discussed with me that were just flat out untrue. He told me that there was DNA, which there was. Unfortunately, he neglected to tell me that the DNA was never tested. Finding that out 4 years later in a podcast, it was just very disturbing to me. I swear to the following under penalty of perjury. I did not write the March 1999 letters or the affidavit because of pressure from the Syed family. My only goal has always been to provide the truth about what I remember. We could have been doing this years ago, but because of his actions and the way that he talked to me, he convinced me to stay out of it. Honestly, it pisses me off. It makes me hate myself for allowing him to manipulate me in that way.
The new prosecutor, Saru Vignaraja, did you feel like he was seeking justice?
No, I feel like if he did care about the truth, that he would have met with me before the PCR, like I invited him to. My attorney made it absolutely clear that I was 100% willing to cooperate with the prosecution as well. Even after I got done testifying in press conferences, he demonized me.
I think what's clear to the judge based on the record is that Asia McClain was not a weapon for the defense, she was a potential weakness. What Asia McClain presented in 1999 were two letters that looked at best confusing and at worst doctored.
She has a lot of scrutiny and a lot of people saying horrible things about her. Just go on Reddit and look up Asia. Guilters, we call them.
It seemed like it was just a bunch of conspiracy theories. Being accused of not writing my letters when I wrote them. They talk about you as being a pig or vile. It's very hurtful, especially when I wasn't anticipating being a part of this.
It'd be nice if there was some technicality, something that would prove his innocence.
But I think, Asia, like, you might be that technicality.
When I talked to Sarah on the phone, at best, I thought maybe she was going to write an article. Back then, no one knew what a podcast really was. And then to have it go so viral, so quick, it was just a very surreal and sickening experience.